On this edition for Sunday, May 6th, the story of the porn star and the president continues to consume Washington. In our signature segment, adding work requirements in exchange for government benefits.
Individuals left food stamps, went back to work, and their incomes increased by over 114%. This is just part of this ideological march toward a policy that is not going to be effective and is only going to create more hardship.
The ambitious government program launched today to collect health and genetic data from 1 million Americans. Next on PBS NewsHour Weekend.
From the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center in New York, Hari Srinivasan.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Talks with North Korea, a looming deadline on the Iran nuclear agreement, and upcoming primary elections in multiple states that may change control of Congress. All of those issues took a back seat to the issues of President Donald Trump's payment to adult film actress Stephanie Clifford, who's also known as Stormy Daniels, and the ongoing investigation into Russian meddling in U.S. elections. A who's who of presidential advisors and lawyers weighed in on Sunday morning talk shows. The president's newest lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, said he can't be certain the president will not invoke the Fifth Amendment if he is called to testify in the Russia investigation headed by Robert Mueller.
Oh, how could I ever be confident of that? When I'm facing a situation with the president and all the other lawyers are, in which every lawyer in America thinks he'd be a fool to testify, I've got a client who wants to testify. Please don't. He said it yesterday.
The president's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels. Mr. Giuliani reiterated that the president repaid it, but it was not a campaign finance violation.
Number one, it was not a campaign contribution because it would have been done anyway. This is the kind of thing that I've settled for celebrities and famous people. Every lawyer that does that kind of work has. And number two, even if it was considered a campaign contribution, it was entirely reimbursed out of personal funds, which I don't think we'll even get to because the first one's enough.
Counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, said after talking to Mr. Trump yesterday, she's certain he did not know about the payment at the time it occurred. She spoke with CNN's Jake Tapper.
And so he's saying he didn't know about it when the payment occurred. He found out about it after the fact.
And adding to the allegations, the attorney for Stormy Daniels, Michael Avenatti, said this morning he thinks there are more payments to other women.
Women have come forward and contacted our office, George, as I've stated in the past, and we haven't completed vetting those stories. But I think at the end of the day, there's going to be evidence of such payments.
Last night on Saturday Night Live, Stormy Daniels herself made a surprise appearance in a skit featuring Alec Baldwin in his usual role as the president.
Oh, come on, we'll always have Shark Week. I solved North and South Korea. Why can't I solve us?
Sorry, Donald, it's too late for that. I know you don't believe in climate change, but a storm's a-coming, baby.
President Trump denies having had an affair with Daniels, denies any collusion with Russia, and said last week that while he would love to talk to special counsel Robert Mueller, his lawyers advise against it. North Korea's official news agency is blasting the United States for making, quote, misleading claims about why the country is willing to negotiate an end to its nuclear program. The president and other U.S. officials have said that Washington's tough talk and policies and long-running economic sanctions are why the North is now willing to negotiate. Today, the North Korean news agency reported that those statements are a dangerous attempt to ruin any future deals. Late last month, North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un and South Korea's President Moon Jae-in met for the first time. President Trump says his planned meeting with Kim has a date and place set that he will reveal soon. Arizona Senator John McCain, who is battling brain cancer, is chatty and walking around, according to his son-in-law. The 81-year-old senator has been meeting with friends and colleagues at his Arizona ranch in the past few days. Yesterday, the New York Times reported McCain and his family have made plans for his funeral that do not include President Trump, asking that only Vice President Pence attend. NBC News reports that McCain would like former Presidents Barack Obama and George W. Bush to give eulogies. The Kilauea volcano continues to erupt on the Big Island of Hawaii today. Yesterday, officials ordered the evacuation of 1,700 people as molten rock and sulfuric dioxide gas threaten neighborhoods in the island's southeastern region. The slow-moving lava is now coming from 8 active fissures. No injuries are reported, but fires have destroyed several homes.
The prognosis is for this to continue. We see no slowdown in activity. We've got additional outbreaks of lava, just as we anticipated.
It's unclear when residents might be able to return, and scientists say there may be more earthquakes, which could cause additional damage. The National Institutes of Health held events in 7 cities and online today, all to sign up 1 million Americans who will voluntarily share personal medical information. The project is called All of Us, and it is raising privacy concerns. But among the ambitious goals, to expand the use of precision genetic medicine and to include more minorities and women, traditionally underrepresented groups in medical research. Joining me now from Washington, D.C. is Lenny Bernstein, who is covering the story for the Washington Post. Give us an idea of how big this project is and what they're trying to accomplish.
Sure. This project is probably the most ambitious effort to compile a repository of medical data that's ever been undertaken. They want 1 million people to give them various forms of information, everything from filling out a survey to allowing them to sequence your entire genome. And they want people from all walks of life, all over the country, from different racial groups, ethnic groups, and they're taking all kinds of steps to make sure that they get it.
Okay, so what happens with that information once they get it? What are the applications? What are the uses? What do they hope they can get from that?
The applications are sort of endless at this point. The idea is to foster the growth of precision medicine. And precision medicine is tailoring therapies, but also preventions and cures, hopefully, to your particular set of needs. So the idea would be that we would have this giant repository of information that various researchers could delve into and examine and use to come up with approaches to all kinds of diseases. It's most easily understood right now in terms of cancer, but maybe we'll discover something about asthma, or maybe we'll discover something about Parkinson's disease that we never knew before we could examine all this data.
In the wake of the Cambridge Analytica scandal that Facebook is facing and other data breaches all over the country and the world, how does the NIH and the U.S. government plan to protect the information that perhaps 1 million people will give them?
Well, from the examples that you just mentioned, we know that nothing is completely safe. Everything can be hacked. However, they have taken extraordinary precautions to protect this in their reservoirs of data. They also are assuring you that it can never be used in a law enforcement situation. It can never be used in a judicial situation. Congress passed a law with the eye towards this database and they've included these certificates of confidentiality. So no matter what happens, even if the information goes online illegally, law enforcement can't use it.
So this is just weeks after the Golden State Killer was caught using DNA evidence, right?
It is. And I think that is where people are going to have to make their own decisions. It's really going to be a personal comfort kind of situation. Some people might say to themselves, I give away more information to Facebook every single day, and what do I get for it? Nothing. I get ads, and I get to be on Facebook. So if they want my whole genome and they want to give me back the results, that may be worth it. Other people might say, we're talking about my electronic medical records, we're talking about my genome, we're talking about my activities, we're talking about my environment, and I'm just going to err on the side of caution and not go for it.
Is there any assurance that the U.S. government's going to give that says we are not going to share this information with any third party, no sort of private corporations or grant institutions that want to have a little peek even at the aggregate sets of data, even if it's anonymous?
I think that would defeat the purpose. I think those certificates of confidentiality and the protections that were put in place by the U.S. Congress are supposed to keep that from happening. This is supposed to be information that's available to researchers and to the people who participate.
All right. Lenny Bernstein of the Washington Post. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
The Trump administration has signaled that it wants to change many of America's social safety net programs. One of its main ideas is adding or expanding the requirement to work in exchange for benefits. In tonight's signature segment, NewsHour Weekend's Megan Thompson went to Maine, which already has work requirements for some aid programs. It's also at the center of a debate whether these provisions genuinely help those in need. The story is part of our ongoing series about poverty and opportunity in America, Chasing the Dream.
In a rural pocket of Maine, east of Augusta, 50-year-old Tim Keefe lives in a Spartan two-room trailer without a bathroom or even running water. A Navy veteran, he's single and has 2 grown daughters.
We don't need too much refrigeration this time of year. But
his only income is about $200 a month in food stamps.
You have to kind of figure out what you're going to need for each day and what you can get away with. You're not eating like a king, but you're eating, so that's the important part.
But not too long ago, things were even more difficult for Keefe. He was working at a manufacturing plant when he suffered a wrist injury that required multiple surgeries. He lost his job and then his home.
In here, this is where I spent last winter.
For a time, Keefe lived in a small tent warmed by an electric heater.
You're basically stuck in the tent when it's really cold. It's just, it's survival.
Adding to the hardship, Keefe had no access to food stamps. That's because beginning in 2014, if you were under 50 and you weren't caring for children, Maine started enforcing a 3-month time limit on food stamps, unless you were working 20 hours a week, volunteering, or in a job training program. Keefe could do none of those things with his injured wrist, and he was under 50.
You wake up in the morning, you're a caveman. You got to go find food. You got to gather. You got to hunt, you know. And I tell you, when you haven't eaten in a few days, your morals are out the window. You know, hitchhiking to the supermarket and robbing the supermarket for food became an option, a viable option.
Keefe estimates he lost 40 pounds during the 10 months he went without food benefits. Then he turned 50 last May and became eligible again for food stamps, also known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP.
I've gained it all back. I mean, the SNAP program is a lifeline. It really is.
It is not in the best interest of anyone to just simply hand out a check.
Mary Mayhew was the commissioner of Maine's Department of Health and Human Services from 2011 to 2017 under Republican Governor Paul LePage. She says the state was ripe for reform when she took over administration of its safety net programs.
The department had truly lost sight of its core mission. The work underway was focused on trying to be all things to all people. Success was defined by the number of people coming on to welfare rather than the number of individuals who were on that pathway to self-sufficiency and independence.
Under Mayhew, Maine looked at the wage records of nearly 7,000 adults without dependents, people like Tim Keefe, in the 1 year after food stamp benefits were cut off.
Individuals left food stamps, went back to work, and their incomes increased by over 114%. They were earning more than the federal poverty level, exactly the goal that we certainly hoped for as we incentivized and prioritized work.
And the Trump administration has taken notice. Citing Maine's changes to its SNAP program, in April, President Trump signed an executive order directing federal agencies to strengthen and introduce work requirements. Mayhew, meanwhile, has left her position in Health and Human Services to run for governor in the Republican primary. She's also consulted with the Trump administration about Maine's experience with work requirements.
I'm incredibly proud that Maine is seen as a model.
Maine is not a model. It's a cautionary tale.
Chris Hasted is the Public Policy Director for Maine Equal Justice Partners, an advocacy group representing low-income Mainers.
Things are not going in a good direction, and for those who argue that these so-called reforms are effective in helping to raise families out of poverty and improve their ability to support their families, it's just not happened.
Hasted notes that the same study on food stamp changes in Maine, touted by Mayhew and the Trump administration, is not all positive.
2/3 of people that had been terminated still did not have employment. That's about the same that didn't have employment at the beginning of the year. But now, at the end of the year, they had neither wages nor food assistance.
She says forcing people to work ignores the barriers often faced by many low-income people.
jobs aren't available, or the hours aren't available, or transportation isn't available, or childcare isn't available. But none of those factors are considered in these inflexible policies that say you either work 20 hours a week or you don't get food.
Hasted also points to federal data showing that since 2011, Maine has seen food insecurity, which measures access to food, increase by nearly 9%, while the national level has declined by about 11%.
This is just part of this ideological march toward a policy that is not going to be effective and is only going to create more hardship for people who are impacted by it. That's what we've seen here in Maine, and that's what we would expect to see from a similar policy in Medicaid.
Medicaid, which provides health care for low-income Americans, is jointly administered by states and the federal government. Last year, Maine asked the federal government to add work requirements to Maine's Medicaid program. Ricker Hamilton is the state's current Commissioner of Health and Human Services, which oversees Medicaid in Maine. He supports adding work requirements to the program, which is known as MaineCare.
We didn't have these tools for the people, so they only had the welfare benefit, they only had MaineCare services. So they were kind of stuck. And I think by helping people who are able and want to work, it's enhancing the program and improving the program.
The state wants to make MaineCare more like its SNAP program. Among other changes, it wants to require able-bodied adults, including those with children over the age of 5, to work at least 20 hours a week, volunteer, or be in job training. Maine is one of 7 states with pending requests for similar measures. Kentucky, Indiana, and Arkansas have already had work requirements for Medicaid approved by the Trump administration. Hamilton says the state's economy is healthy and has jobs available.
This is a golden opportunity that hasn't existed in a very long time, and I think it's time for us to step bravely as opposed to fret, wring our hands and shake our heads and say, what if? We need to take that step forward.
Hamilton points to the state's experience with yet another social safety net program, the original Welfare to Work program promoted by President Bill Clinton in the 1990s. It's called Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or TANF. In Maine, to qualify for TANF, a recipient must have low or no income and be caring for a child. In order to help those recipients get jobs, the state provides not only cash assistance, but also subsidized transportation and childcare, as well as personalized support and job search classes.
I presume everybody in here has a resume.
Classes like this one near Augusta are mandatory for most recipients, and Maine enforces a firm 5-year term limit for receiving TANF benefits.
Very good deal. Yeah. Got lucky.
28-year-old Michelle Young received a little less than $300 a month in TANF cash assistance, off and on, for almost 14 months before and after giving birth to her daughter.
I hadn't worked in years, so your confidence is down a little bit. And it's really, it's embarrassing to have to ask for help. It's embarrassing to have to receive TANF.
Young got a job as an administrative assistant working with a nonprofit that helps TANF recipients. She credits the support she received and the requirement to find employment with helping her get and keep a job.
You know, the accountability, I needed it.
Maine is now launching a pilot program for 500 households to offer similar work supports to SNAP recipients.
It might be good to get you set up with a pulmonologist now that you have MaineCare.
Dr. Renee Fay-LeBlanc is the chief medical officer at Greater Portland Health, where about 35% of its nearly 11,000 patients are on MaineCare.
MaineCare is important for people to be able to get to the place where they can work, provide for their families.
Maine estimates that eligibility for MaineCare will decline as a result of the new work requirements. Dr. Fay-LeBlanc says the consequences for losing access to MaineCare can be life and death.
I had a patient who did not have MaineCare. He was having a lot of symptoms that hadn't been explained yet or diagnosed, and yet he refused to go to the hospital because he didn't want to rack up more medical debt. And that patient died last year. And I firmly believe that if he had had access to MaineCare and could have gotten his medications and a real thorough workup for the symptoms that he was experiencing, he wouldn't have died.
Maine today is considered an absolute national leader
Mary Mayhew has made the changes she oversaw in Maine's social safety net programs a pillar of her campaign for governor. She says asking able-bodied recipients of SNAP benefits or MaineCare to work is not about shrinking the programs or punishing those who need help.
This is not about saving money or being punitive. It is about recognizing that work and employment restores human dignity. I am far more concerned about the tendency of these programs to cast a wide net and trap people than I am that someone is going to fall through the cracks.
Tim Keefe says he fell through the cracks after getting injured. His wrist is now strong enough for him to work, but he struggled to find a job.
They say there's, a lot of open jobs and people are really looking for work in this day and age, but I've pounded the pavement for 9 months and I can't get hired. I've never had such a problem getting hired before in my life.
Using money from a workman's comp settlement, Keefe purchased some land and he's hoping to build a small house using found timber. And for now, he still gets SNAP benefits. But last month, Republicans in Congress proposed raising the work requirement and job training age from 49 to 59 for SNAP recipients as part of the Farm Bill, meaning Keefe, as a 50-year-old, could again lose access to food aid.
There has to be some vehicle for poor people to eat. You can't just starve them. You can't do that.
The House of Representatives is expected to debate and vote on the 2018 Farm Bill before the end of the month.
With an aging population, one county in Maine is also grappling with the issue of hunger among seniors. Hear from those who are affected. Visit facebook.com/newshour.
This is PBS NewsHour Weekend, Sunday.
President Trump is set to decide whether or not the United States will stay in the Iran nuclear deal in less than 1 week. Rhetoric from multiple parties with an interest in the decision ratcheted up today. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani spoke to supporters at a rally.
If the U.S. opts to pull out of the nuclear deal, it will soon realize that this decision will become a historic regret for them. No change will occur in our lives next week. We have devised plans for any possible decision that President Trump might make, and we will resist it.
Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu said today the agreement should be, quote, fully fixed or fully nixed. European allies and Russia and China are urging the president to stay in the deal. President Trump has said he will pull out unless, quote, disastrous flaws are fixed. There was another deadly bombing at a voter registration center in Afghanistan today. A bomb killed at least 14 people and wounded dozens in a mosque in the eastern province of Khost. Both the Taliban and the Islamic State opposed democratic elections. Last month, an ISIS suicide bomber killed 60 people at a registration center in Kabul. Afghanistan's election is planned for October, and it would be the first since 2014. For the first time in 9 years, Lebanon is holding parliamentary elections today. While Prime Minister Saad al-Hariri is expected to remain in power, the election could change the country's parliament. Following the 2009 election, Prime Minister Hariri, a Sunni backed by Saudi Arabia, formed a unity government with Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran. And join us online and on the broadcast tomorrow on the NewsHour. We'll report on coal country and the fight for control of Congress, with a look at what's on the minds of West Virginia voters as the midterm elections approach. Finally tonight, Melania Trump will formally announce the initiative she will focus on as First Lady in a speech in the White House Rose Garden tomorrow. Her spokesperson says the First Lady will make the well-being of children her priority and focus on several initiatives. During her husband's 2016 campaign, Mrs. Trump said she would like to tackle cyberbullying. She has continued to include that issue in her public events and meetings, recently bringing leaders from tech companies to the White House to discuss internet safety and children's use of social media. That's all for this edition of PBS NewsHour Weekend. I'm Hari Srinivasan. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.